22nd year head coach up at Ole Miss with an amazing job he has done with the Rebel program. Another great year up at Ole Miss. So, Coach, if you would, some opening statements to our crowd here.
Well, I was hoping the home team was going to make the first opening statement, but just excited to be here. Apologize to Southern Miss. You know, we just left a ton of rain in Miami. I guess we brought it up here to Hattiesburg, but I understand it'll be out of here the next hour or so. And just excited. I know I've talked all week and to some of you, and you know how cool it is to have a super regional with two teams, you know, in our state, you know, going at it. You know, Scott and his program have had a tremendous year, and certainly super deserving, you know, to host a super regional. We didn't have a super year, but we played well at the end, and you know, excited to be here and still be playing.
Coach Scott Berry in his 13th year as the head coach of the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. Coach Berry, if you make some opening comments, please.
Oh, well, first of all, I'd like to congratulate Mike and his team and making it to the Super Regional. Big fan of his. When he came to Mississippi as the head coach of the University of Mississippi in 2000, that's when Coach Palmer asked me to come be the assistant at Southern Miss the same time there in 2000. So we kind of hit the ground at this level and the state at the same time. So you know, we've kind of been able to develop a really nice relationship and a competitive relationship over those years. So very proud of our squad and being able to make it to this level and check this box. We've only been to a super regional one other time. That was in 2009 at Florida, but we've never been able to host one here. So you know, very excited about coming off from a regional win there, which we hosted and had never done that before. So we've checked some boxes along the way. These guys that I'm so honored to lead are just a super bunch of young men, both on and off the field. Very high character. You know, you've heard me talk about chemistry way before now. You know, a lot of teams are talking about chemistry right now, but I had drawn that strength. I'd shown that strength a long time ago because I could just tell that these guys were wired a little bit different in who they were and how they were for each other. So an important variable in where you're trying to get to and the success that you're trying to have each year. So, but very excited for this opportunity moving forward.
Okay, we'll open it up some questions if you would. If you need to, I'll bring you the microphone. If not, introduce yourself, let the coaches know who you are, and we'll get started. Who wants to start off? Go ahead.
Coach, this is for both of y'all, Austin Ellis with Rebel Walk. A lot has been made of the inter-Mississippi matchup this weekend and kind of the atmosphere that's going to be here at B. Taylor. Kind of how do you guys keep your players grounded in the moment and focused on the job at hand? Because it's really easy to get amped up with a series like this, for sure.
Good.
You know, I've always just kind of stayed, you know, people that have covered us all year, we talk about, you know, game by game approach, and it's not the opponent you're playing, it's not the situation you're playing. I think, you know, you can get overwhelmed with those things, those variables that enter in if you let it. And we just try to simplify it and understand that the game is what you're trying to play and win. You know, you have to have an opponent to do that. It's just, you know, this situation where two in-state teams, two really good in-state teams are playing. And, you know, the exciting thing is one of those are going on to Omaha to represent Mississippi in Omaha, Nebraska. And that's a really neat thing. You know, last year, you know, you had Mississippi State, who was a national champion, obviously. We're proud of our state. We're proud of this baseball in our state. And, you know, I just think with this situation and this game right here for us, we just try to stay in the moment, just try to understand that Saturday is the most important game on our schedule, and that's what we're going to concentrate and focus on trying to win.
He really left me nothing else to say, did he? But it's right, and it's not just coaches speak. I mean, I think both of us, you know, coach at programs that are used to this publicity and used to this. It's neat that it's at a super regional, but if I'm not mistaken, I think we came here on May 11th, and they may have broken an attendance record. So this isn't something that I think it's unusual for us, either program to play with, so many eyes, on us. It just happens to be, the last step before you get to the College World Series. So I think both programs are ready for that. I know we are. We hope playing in the Southeastern Conference, you get some of this, right? And you get some of these crowds. But, this is a tough place to play. We've been coming here for 20 plus years, and, we haven't had a ton of success here. We won the last time we were here, but we haven't had a ton of success here. So we know how good they are. We know how good or how ramped up this crowd can be. It'll be a big challenge for us.
Okay, next question. Go ahead, sir.
Coach Barrett, Jake Thompson, Going with Spirit. What has impressed you with Hall and Waldrop and Riggins, just what they've been able to accomplish this season and take from last year to this year?
Well, I think, obviously Riggins is a piece that we added over the summer, graduate transfer from Delta State. But, just watching the development and transformation of Hall and Waldrop, both as freshmen last year, and how they've continued to mature and develop. And I think when you look at those three, and they've held that position for the last 14 weeks, I guess. We started, Tanner started going on Friday night for us once we started conference in the fifth weekend, and they've held that rotation the whole way. They work extremely hard. They push each other extremely hard. They compete against each other. So, it's a unique blend of chemistry within your starters. Outside of the chemistry I feel like that we have as a team, but those guys they're impressive. They go about their business. They're very unselfish and in their own way. It's not about the day they pitch. It's about every day we play. And I think that's what impresses me the most. Obviously, the numbers you can read for yourself. They're really good numbers, which is obviously a compliment to them. Our pitching coach, Christian Ostrander, who does an outstanding job getting these guys ready for competition, not just them, but the whole staff. But, this is a unique three guys that have carried it for us all year.
Mike, considering that you guys have been in this spot for the last couple of years, I'm wondering, do you and the players that work hard that reflect on that? Has the approach changed at all now, considering that it hasn't worked out the last couple of years?
No, it's asked a lot. It's not a secret. That we've been in this position a lot and only got through once. But I think the best answer that you give is keep knocking on the door. And I said this earlier in the week that the last couple weeks SEC tournament, obviously a regional, more tournament format where depending on what game you win, what time you're going to play, you don't know the next opponent and so on. This is more like what we're used to, through the regular 14 weeks, a 3-game series, on the road. And I think we approach it, the same way as we would approach a Southeastern Conference, weekend, on the road at one of our opponents. You are who you are at this point. You don't all of a sudden try to figure out to bunt more or to hit and run more or do something different with your pitching staff. Both teams, obviously, you don't get to this point without not just us, but the other 14 as well, 16 teams that are playing well and deserve to be here, and you hope that you play well enough here to move on. But I think that's what it comes down to. I know it seems so simple. Everybody's gets to this point is good enough. You just got to play well this weekend.
Right.
Hey Scott, Jared Redding, 24/7 Sports. I know some of us asked Mike this earlier in the week. Having coached Mississippi for the time that you have, and having coached here, coached against Southern Miss, coached against Mississippi State, what is it do you believe that makes college baseball just so unique in the state of Mississippi, from the players to the fan base surrounding it?
Well, I think it starts with the Little League programs. I mean, you can drive, first of all, the weather is a huge factor for baseball down here. I mean, that was one of the things that brought me south. Being from the Midwest, I got tired of playing and practicing and coaching inside a gymnasium, and I wanted to go south, where baseball was more more weather friendly, I guess I should say, or weather was more baseball friendly. But and I'm sorry, I can't even remember what you asked me now.
Just about just what makes college baseball just.
Oh,
so
okay, yeah.
unique
You
in
can
your
drive
mind.
around. I know in Hattiesburg and around this area, every town you can go to, there's going to be little league lights on. I mean, kids are playing baseball at an earlier time. It's just something I feel like that in Mississippi, it's just a big time sport. It's a family sport. It's something that people gravitate to, and it just continues on. If you look at the levels of baseball in our state, whether it's the high school, whether it's a junior college, whether it's NAIA, D2, D3, D1. I mean, we put out some really good teams and represent nationally across the country our baseball in Mississippi. So, I don't know why that is, other than I think it starts at a very young age. Obviously our venues have gotten a lot better. We've seen that in our own here when making improvements. All of a sudden you're starting to see attendance go up. So when you start having a lot of people coming and watch you play, obviously it becomes infectious and it spreads to everybody else. Word of mouth starts to spread and people want to be a part of it and see it.
In the back.
Coach Barry, WTOK Meridian. I wanted to ask you, I know you and Coach Courtney Palmer both spent time at MCC. Was there something special about the time you spent at MCC that helped both of you guys get to a super regional? You guys are the only coaches to do it, so was there something special about that time at MCC that contributed to being able to play the big stage here?
Well, I think looking back, that was during the 90s, from 90 to 2000, and we were really good at Meridian. We had some really good teams there. We went to the World Series, I think 5 out of those 10 years in Grand Junction. And, I just think that coming from my own personal experience, coming to the Midwest and into a state that was such, so baseball rich. I mean, Coach Pope, I'd had his playbook when I was a player in junior college, and coming to the state where he is, and then of course following the big three, Hill and was here, and Coach Kessinger, Coach Harrison, before Coach Bianco was there, and of course then Mike got there and took it to a different level. But I think just my time at Meridian was a special time. We were on top of the junior college as that program that everybody was trying to chase, and I just think the things in its own little way, there wasn't, I always tell people, there really wasn't pressure at Meridian. I figured it out now. The only pressure was me, putting it on ourselves, or Coach Palmer putting it on him. But there wasn't the pressures, obviously, as we move forward and we get to the bigger programs and the bigger fan base. But in its own way, it did prepare me. It did link me in with people who were very smart on baseball, and I tried to just do whatever I could to soak up every bit of what they do to try to help me. And of course, I owe a lot to Coach Palmer. I've never been under a head coach that lets you work, and was accountable and gave you responsibilities. And in all honesty, that's what I do. It's not about me here. My guys do a tremendous job. They have a lot of responsibility. They have a lot of accountability. They're going to be head coaches one day, and I feel like that's what has helped me get to where I am, what Coach Palmer was able to give me, and I try to give the same to our staff.
For both of y'all, first, how much fun is it from a managerial standpoint when you have clear strain versus clear strain, Southern Miss pitching versus Ole Miss hitting, both of them, really good? How much fun is that going into this performance?
I'll let you. I went first on that last one.
I don't know how much fun it is, but obviously, I think you're right. I think when you talk about us, if you're looking at the stat sheet, probably the thing that stands out is offensively. We've had another good year, and in Southern, I think maybe their offense is underrated. We played them now twice, and really respect what they do offensively, and probably much more well-rounded. But because their pitching is so outstanding, it gets all the publicity. So I think it's a big challenge for our offense. People talked about us playing earlier in the year, but we played in midweek games. Those guys may end up coming out of the bullpen, but the three arms that they'll start we haven't seen, and again, very good, a team that doesn't give up runs. It's going to be a huge challenge for our offense.
Well, it's going to be a huge challenge for our pitching staff. I mean, I know their lineup is a very strong lineup. LSU's was a very strong lineup. It's tough to navigate to those hitters. I mean, certainly we've played them 2 times now, and it'll be probably the same, pretty close to same hitters that we saw outside of Graham. I don't think Graham played in the first game, but he was back in that second game, and he made a difference. You know, he hit a home run in that game that really kind of turned that thing. I'm thinking about the second or third inning, but you know, very, very challenging for our pitching staff. As good as our numbers are, you know, still you're going to have to navigate through a very good lineup. And his pitching staff is pitching well too. I mean, they're starting to really come on, and you know, I know that was a big key to their success in this regional that they just got through. So, you know, I think both of us have our challenges in their own different way.
Great.
I know you guys don't have a lot of time to look at the fan experience on a game day, but I'm wondering if other places you've gone and seen, do you see places that have a similar outfield fan experience that we see in Mississippi? The Roost here, the outfield at Ole Miss, Starkville. Do you see those things in other places, and what kind of advantage can that be?
We don't really see it outside of the state, in all honesty. And in our conference that we just finished up with, I can't recall anything. Maybe back in the old CUSA when East Carolina was in our conference, and you know they were named the Jungle. You know, they would put some pressure on you out there. But outside of that, outside of Ole Miss's stadium and then in Starkville, I don't really recall a whole lot that we encounter with fans out that direction.
Yeah, and I think it's becoming more and more popular. I think people want to do it. I think because of what they see in Mississippi, and I agree with Scott. I just watched Cliff on television at East Carolina, and what an atmosphere they had there, and they had that outfield fan experience as you call it, Parrish. But trying to recall, I think Tennessee's built something out in left field over the years, and obviously with their success the last few years, that's becoming more popular. But I think more stadiums want to do that. It's just how ours kind of happened. I'm assuming it probably just happened here because of the topography of the ground, right? And we're built in a little hole, and there was a berm there, and you can fit some students out there, and it just kind of happened. Other stadiums were built and they didn't have that type of ground, and so now they got to try to figure it out. But Alabama, when they redid theirs, they tried to build something out in right field. So I think people want to duplicate that. It's just tough. You look at Arkansas, that wasn't there 20 years ago, but that kind of emerged. I don't want to say that they're copying anybody. I think that that's becoming a neat thing, and I'm sure that's why your question. But it's neat. I didn't even think about it, but all three of us do. Have some type of outfield experience like that, and pretty cool.
Questions? Go ahead.
Coach Bianco, also with Stephen Prince. Last week, Coach Berry gave you high praise. He stated that you actually deserve a statue down in Oxford. Could you just kind of highlight the competitive nature that you guys maintain, but at the same time, just the friendship that you guys have developed over the years, just compliments on that?
Statue?
Statue.
Wow.
I really said that.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right next to Elko's statue. Right next to it. That's it. Well, I didn't hear that, but I appreciate it from Coach Berry. And as he said earlier, I think we both respect the heck out of each other. We know how hard this job is. We realize that coaching at this level of college baseball, it's tough. It's tough to win. It's tough to win year in and year out, and he does it. And I think when you see him, you play him in the middle of the week. You can see how good their teams are. I think we've seen each other for 22 years, and we've always respected the heck out of this program and know how good they are. One of the things I said earlier in the week, and I mean it as an the utmost as a compliment, is, one of the things that I think will happen out of this weekend is, we've always respected them. I think this state, I think this region, but hosting this, super regional here, I think will give the rest of the country, a view of how good Southern Miss baseball really is. And, we've been fortunate in Mississippi State, and a lot of that has to do with the conference that we play in. And the publicity that you get from playing in the Southeastern Conference. But baseball's different. It's not like football, where a team like this they've been to Omaha, and so I think this gives them a stage to show the rest of the country how good they are. We're hoping they're not going to show them how good they maybe they'll tone it down a notch, but I think that's what's really cool about this, what everybody's so excited about, that I think we've known how good Mississippi baseball is, but I think the rest of the country is going to get to see it this weekend.
Like the team there with JTV, how do you guys feel like the team last year when you guys played each other in the regional, how it's kind of adjusted to where you guys are now? Like how your teams have transformed and what you expected of each other's teams?
Well, we've each lost a few pieces from last year, but that was such a competitive, just really good baseball. Two games that we played and we ended. Of course, they won and moved on and went to Arizona. But the Sunday night game was just a great college baseball game. And then the Monday game started out obviously not the way we wanted. I think we were down 8, and after the second inning. But then, I think on speaking on our team, that's when I really felt like that our guys had really made that jump in coming together and developing. And I knew we had a lot of those pieces back. And final score was 12-9, and really was another great game and went kind of down the wire. Even though it was 3 runs, and still our guys didn't go away. And even down that last inning when we were down 3 runs, I was like, what they have shown me up to this point, I'm not going to I'm not going to count them out with it. So, I just think on our, with our team, just that momentum, we've taken that momentum from last year, how we ended there, and just started into this year, and have been real consistent with moving forward with it.
I've always thought, you're different every year. Even if you return players, the players are older, they're hopefully better, but they're different. They mature. They have different goals, and they're different stages of their lives. And so I think that's one of the unique things about coaching college sports is, every team's different. You lose a couple players and it changes, the team, the dynamic of the team. So on the field and even in the locker room, I think we're a different team, than we were last year. Obviously, we lost, some key pitchers from last year, and I think that's probably, if you just look at us as a whole, offensively, a lot of those kids returned. As Scott said, we've had a couple injuries that maybe slowed us a little bit offensively with, Graham and some others, but we've had a pretty good year offensively. We've just been inconsistent on the mound, and we started to figure that out a little bit at the end with, DeLucia and Elliott starting, and with Mallets in the bullpen being more consistent for us. We've been able to define some roles. I think in the last 3 or 4 weeks, it's made us better. And so, it's just taken us longer to figure it out, this year. But, we're a lot of the same names, but a different team.
Okay, back.
Coach Bianco, you've got a lot of seniors that came back this year. When you guys got into the tournament and got this chance, what have you noticed in the locker room that didn't change over the past couple of weeks leading up, kind of getting new life into the team?
I don't know if this is exactly the answer to your question, but when we were there on that Monday, Memorial Day, and you don't know if your name's going to get called, and so been 21 of those times, at Ole Miss, and 18, of those times our names have been called, and I don't ever remember seeing that type of reaction. And there's been times where we've been on the bubble and got in, but you could just see the excitement, the true joy, and it would have been really, really disappointing to watch Tim Elko and Justin Bench and Kevin Graham and a lot of guys that might be in their last year at Ole Miss. Not they've won as many games as anybody that's ever worn the uniform. We played baseball for a long time at Ole Miss, and those guys have won as many games as anybody, over the last 4 years. And so for them to miss out on this, would have been a travesty. So just excited, for those guys, and I think they felt that they deserve it, but you don't know. When you get to that point, you just don't know. It's up to 10 people in Indianapolis to decide if you get to play again or not. And once they heard they could, I know they were pretty excited.
Questions?